Showtime!
Ladies and gentlemen, please make your way to your seats.
Showtime!
Please make your way to your seats. The show is about to begin.
Showtime!
Let the magic begin.
So this last article, as we get to it, has to do because you're always trying to prove me wrong when I keep saying there will never be a hydrogen internal combustion. You can't convert the water to hydrogen in the engine. It's never going to happen. And then what happens is we get this hydrogen combustion engine that's supposed to change the automotive industry, and they're getting it ready to race in.
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
Yeah. So as you know, and our listeners might know, I am all behind hydrogen. I think it's the fuel of the future for everything, aviation, for boats, for cars, for everything. And actually there was an article, I think it's Honda is going all in on hydrogen engines now. I think it's Honda. And also Rolls-Royce is testing a hydrogen jet engine. But let's talk about this. So the engine that we're talking about in question, it's a 2-liter hydrogen-fueled internal combustion engine known as the H2 ICE. And just for those that don't know, ICE stands for internal combustion engine. So it was developed through a research collaboration between this Austrian company, AVL Racetechn, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, that specializes in racing technologies, and researchers from Hungary. So there's some impressive early test results that have shown that it can output 410 horsepower and 500 nanometers or 368 foot-pounds of torque from just a 2,000 cc of displacement. This equates to an extremely high specific output of over 250 horsepower per liter of engine displacement. Now, to put this into context for you, like, oh, wow, is that really good? The most high-performance engines today utilize around 1,600 cc and output 380 horsepower. Though, if you add some electric boosting, you can raise that to 520 horsepower. So the hydrogen engine is demonstrating performance on par or exceeding traditional gas engines from a smaller package. So a key technical achievement that they achieved for this was employing a water injection system called port fuel injection, which helps prevent premature ignition of the air-oxygen mixture and ensures proper fuel-air ratios under all operating conditions. And they've done extensive testing through simulations, and they've actually validated on a test track. But the engine's still in development, but it's already demonstrating it could feasibly compete with major endurance races like the 24-hour of Le Mans, which is interesting because they aim to have this ready by 2027, which I don't know if you know, but it's to coincide with a new hydrogen-fueled prototype class at Le Mans. So really cool stuff. It shows promise with hydrogen. Again, we can get into the combustibility and all that sort of stuff, but we're making strides, Craig.
Yeah, looks really cool. You were mentioning Honda and GM are investing in manufacturing economic fuel cell systems more economically for hydrogen fuel cells, but this isn't really hydrogen fuel cell.
No.
And they're talking about, and I don't really know how this works, but they're talking about they want to get 250 horsepower on a liter of water.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? How far is a liter of water supposed to take you?
It all depends. Again, it's not. I guess it's not so much on how it's going to depend. Again, like it's asking is how far is a gallon of gas going to get you? It all depends on it's very early technology. I think it all comes down to the this water injection system that works in the in this engine. So. Just to kind of, if I explain this, it might give you some idea. So in a traditional gas engine, you have to precisely mix air and fuel. So that's relatively easy since gasoline is a liquid at normal temperatures and pressure. But hydrogen is a gaseous fuel, and it's harder to distribute evenly throughout the air-fuel mixture, going into each cylinder. So if the mixture is too rich or too lean in some cases, it can cause premature ignition or incomplete combustion. So what they've developed is this water injection system. By spraying a fine mist of water into the intake ports just before the hydrogen gas enters each cylinder. So it's a mixture of the water with the hydrogen gas in order to it mixing to help with the air hydrogen charge, which has two effects. It stabilizes the flame front as the combustion begins, and the water molecules attract and slow down the hydrogen molecules to help ensure an evenly distributed air-fuel mixture. And the reason why I explain that is because it all comes down to, like, a liter of water, it's all going to come down to how efficiently they're going to be able to use that water in these engines. So as of right now, I don't know what the range is on a liter of water, but that's a great question. Something I'll definitely look into for sure.
So you've talked a little bit about how the water injection system works in the hydrogen combustion engine. What are the potential challenges or limitations in developing or implementing? When can I be driving one of these?
So the biggest thing is obviously infrastructure. So building out hydrogen refueling and production infrastructures takes significant amount of time and investment compared to gasoline, because it's not so much of just, like, you can't just put like an EV charging station at the thing. Now, where I was thinking we could do this is, obviously you have these propane tanks that are at these gas stations. So you can maybe just replace those with hydrogen fuel tanks. I don't know. The other thing is because the reason why I say I don't know is fuel storage. So storing these gaseous or liquid hydrogen is going to be a thing, but also storing them on board vehicles is going to take specific tanks. It's going to add weight. It's going to add complexity. So there's a lot more improvements that are going to be needed in fuel storage, not only in the vehicle, but also in the infrastructure that's being built. And then talking about how far does 1 liter of water efficiency? So converting hydrogen's energy to mechanical work through either fuel cells or combustion is still at this point less efficient than gasoline engines. So more efficient components and chemistries are going to be needed to be developed. The other thing too is engine durability. So the effects of hydrogen combustion on material, seals, valves, and other small engine parts, it's not fully understood long term right now because this is all new. So a lot more testing is needed, and again, cost. And this is one for you, Craig, perceptions. So despite advantages, public awareness, and understanding of hydrogen that is lower than battery electric, so creating challenges for acceptance and policy support. So there's a lot more responsiveness. There's a lot of challenges that need to be overcome. But I think, like, with this engine that's built, like, we're on that path. Like, it's now outputting the same, if not more power than an internal combustion engine using gasoline.
Yeah, this looks interesting. I know I'm looking here. Honda and GM they've already started to mass produce hydrogen fuel cells at their joint facility in Michigan. They're estimating that 2,000 units per year being starting to be sold by middle of the decade, which I'm not 100% sure. Are they pre-done by 2025 kind of thing? Because we're talking about the race engine in 2027 for the Le Mans race. So this does change some things around the grid problem for charging your electric car and whatnot. But what's it take to do these hydrogen fuel cells? Is that going to be, are we going to be storing a bunch? You just have one tank? I'm curious as to how these are going to be done, and then what the cars have to look like. So do you have any idea on whether it'll be refueling, whether it'll be swapping whole fuel cells in and out when you show up somewhere?
Yeah, I think at the beginning, well, there actually are hydrogen cars on the road right now. BMW has one on the road. I think there were 5 sold last year, and they look like regular cars. Now, with those ones, the recharging or the refueling is through a similar kind of gas nozzle, but obviously it's got to be a lot more secure. It's got to be a closed system, so there's going to be a seal there. But I think so. We talked about EVs and how you could do battery swapping, but it's not a viable option at this point. I think that's going to be the same thing with hydrogen and fuel cells. I think we're going to start with we're going to have tanks in the cars potentially, or potentially converting water to hydrogen through electrolysis. I don't know if there's going to be technology that will be developed for that. So then all you have in your tank is water, and that gets converted as opposed to hydrogen. But who knows? We can't do that right now. That's not a possibility. But if we're talking about refueling, I think right now it would be more of a, like, you go up to a gas station and the gas station's a big tank of hydrogen and you fill up your car. And that's what the current cars are. But I think with fuel cell, I don't know. I haven't dove into what are the challenges specifically around fuel cell and changing those out and things like that. But there's definitely that's definitely an option. And I think if they look at both at the same time, they push one to get the adoption, and then they push the fuel cell because it might be safer or something like that going forward. I don't know.
So with the results of the combustion of hydrogen is water from the existing cars, there's an excess amount of water that comes out of the exhaust. So if you're driving down the highway, the person behind you gets sprayed a fair bit. I'm a little concerned, like, they are going to have to do something about that. It's no big deal in California, but it's the middle of winter here. Like, so the car in front of you literally would be icing up the road as you're driving it. So you'd have to be taking a look at some of these things, because under other circumstances, it's not really a big deal, but in winters and whatnot. So, and the engine, apparently, when you punch it, whines pretty high right now, but that's probably just the way of the compression of the hydrogen coming out of the fuel cells and whatnot, but it might be something else. This is great technology because it's really giving us alternative for a zero emission propulsion.
Much more sustainable over EVs, for sure.
We still have to create the fuel cells, and that may or may not be zero emission, so it's hard to say. Yeah. And for the record, when I say we won't be doing internal combustion hydrogen engines, I'm talking about what we won't be doing is what John just talked about, which is hydraulics, creating the hydrogen in the car, because that's the problem. It's more energy to create the hydrogen than the hydrogen combustion gives off, so it's a net negative, which is why we have to do solar and wind and other things to create the hydrogen, and that's what they call green hydrogen. We don't have to, but that's ideally the goal, is that you can create this hydrogen with these extra surges of power, like when you're not using it and all that, and bam. So I think it'll be interesting. Go ahead, John.
The one thing I thought about is, and this obviously would take some extra energy, but if you're in the north, like here we are in Canada, and it's cold, maybe just heat up that water, and so it outputs steam as opposed to water. So because the exhaust that's coming out of your car is hot, so maybe we could figure out a way just to keep that hot, and so it comes out as steam, and you can have a nice steam bath.
Yeah, I'm sure there's ways of doing it, but again, steam is not necessarily a good thing, because if it comes out of steam, that could hurt somebody if they're too close. There's all sorts of things, right? So the concept is good, love it, and it may not be an issue. I've never been behind one driving on the highway in the winter, but this is what I've heard from people in California.
Yeah,
this has been a great show, John.
Yeah,
what do you got going on?
Yeah, so I've got. Can I post in here? Let me see. No.
What are you trying to do?
I was trying to post the link to. It's on February 21st at Creator Club in Toronto. We're doing a roundtable discussion where we're going to talk. I'm sharing the stage with some phenomenal people. And
Daniel?
What's that?
With Daniel?
With Daniel, with Ryan, with Fariel. So we're talking HR, we're talking branding, we're talking funding. It's going to be really interesting. I'm really excited for this one. So that's exciting coming up next week, which is the week of February 6th. I'll be at NGen. If anyone's going to NGen, the N3 Summit, I'll be there on the Thursday. So come by, say hi. I'll be going there with Alex from Consulta, which you know very well, Craig.
Yeah, definitely go by and say hi. I'm trying to look as you're saying this. I was trying to find it on their site, but if you post it, if you have the link, you can
Sure.
post it in the private chat, and I'll throw it up there.
Yeah.
While we're talking
So
on
the engine, here's the engine entry summit. And I'll post the other one too.
Fantastic. Oops. You know, well, actually, why don't I load it up right here in this window so people can see it?
And then here is the event that I'm taking part in the roundtable.
Okay, is that are they not the same?
No.
Okay.
That next one is the roundtable that I was talking about with Daniel and Ferial. This is the summit on February 8th next week at Toronto Congress Center. The other link that I posted is that's for the roundtable discussion at the Creator Club Studios and event space. So really interesting.
Great. And we've got a lot of stuff going on over at Toronto Starts. We always have stuff going on. February 14th is our co-founder matchup. It's rounding out pretty nicely with Futurepreneur and Consulta. If you're looking for a co-founder or are a solopreneur, come on out. It's going to be a great time. If you want to work with me, I work with startups, help them grow, get over obstacles, keep them accountable. Check out startupcoach.ca to book a time or book a discovery call. We do monthly startup investor drinks. Go to startupdrinksto.com to find out more about that. Almost all of these links are at torontostarts.com, and we post new content there every day. Any final words before we give it a go for the rest of the day, John?
No, I will win you over on hydrogen. That's my goal. So
I love the concept of hydrogen. I think it's great. I just don't think we can create it in the car.
No. I don't think so.
And today we'll see. We're doing all this quantum stuff. We'll have to see how all this works. You know, if we have a quantum entangled hydrogen tank, you know.
Okay.
Well, why not? What's the difference?
There, I love it. Love the crazy.
What's the difference? Like, honestly, you know, I have to start thinking about. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching Futuretech. Check out the Futuretech podcast, and we'll see you all next week.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Greg.